Alright, so let's get into our first project, Blind Date. So this is a short film that I did for a buddy of mine. It was shot with Alexa Mini in 444XQ. So this is how it was delivered to me, all edited as a single file. I scene cut it, and now we have our cut here. I took out a few shots. It's about 3 to 4 minutes long. I just brought it down to 1:30. Just for the demonstration purposes and what we're going to go through, but I did end up using majority of the shots that I had problems with. Now, mind you, this is shot by a proper DP. It was well lit, it was staged, and it was under controlled lighting, shot with Alexa Mini. Even then, when we start color grading, I'm going to show you how one shot to the next there's going to be differences that we're going to have to make up for and look out for. So first, I'm just going to scrub through it and kind of see what we got. A medium on him, then we got a 2-shot, then we got a medium on her, 2-shot, and then eventually you're going to see that we're going to have some punch-ins like this. So we have a close-up on him, and then eventually we're going to have a close-up on her, and then we got a couple of inserts on the wine glasses. So that's an insert on her. And then we got wine glasses at the table. And then we got more inserts of them holding hands. And then we got a super tight on her. So these are our shots. Now the funny thing is that you just have to keep in mind is when we go to this shot on her, compared to this shot on her, you can already see the lighting change. And once we have the scopes, it's going to make a lot more sense. And these are the things, little nuances that you got to keep in mind when you are shot matching. So what's the first rule when you get into shot matching, or how to go about it, how to approach it? Since this is shot with the same camera, since this is shot under controlled lighting, we're going to have to find our hero shot. So what's our hero shot that we can build a color correction on, where everything is balanced and ready to go? That is step number 1. You don't want to start creating a grade, go ham on one shot. So you're going to start out with color correction, then you're going to start applying that color correction to neighboring shots, and then you're going to see how everything is looking, and you're going to keep moving forward with that. And then the look is going to be the last thing. Once you have your base grade applied throughout the entire piece, then you're going to revisit and do another pass where you're going to start creating looks. I cannot stress this point enough because I know too many colorists that spend so much time on one shot creating a look, and then they try to replicate it, and it's never as easy as middle clicking and all your information is going to transfer over. That just doesn't happen. It doesn't exist in this world. You've been lied to when people are selling their LUTs and they just go, oh, you don't need to no color correction. All you need is just drop this LUT on all your images and you're golden. That's not how it works. And I'm going to show you, even after working on a project like this that's shot by a proper DP, properly lit, we still have to worry about shot matching, and there's a lot of manual labor that goes into it. So let's get going. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to go to my power grade, and you guys should have that too, but if you don't, build your node tree and do it this way, okay? Because now we're moving on, we're moving up in these modules. I don't want to keep doing the same thing. I don't want to hold your hand through everything. I am expecting that you've practiced and you've done the exercises up until this point, and if you have, you should be confident enough to follow through. And this module and moving forward, I'm going to be using my panel to color grade because it's just not the same. Using the mouse and showing you everything on the screen was necessary for color correction module, and that's why I kept it that way. In this module and color grading, it's nearly impossible to do everything here. I really have to move multiple things at once, and I cannot do that with mouse because I can only do one thing at a time. That said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drop in my node tree. So once I click on that, it brings in my node tree, and I'm going to close this for 1 second for you guys to see what's happening here. So up top, I have noise reduction to send the clean signal through. Then I got my primaries where I'm going to make any adjustments necessary before the camera LUT. So this is where my camera LUT is going to go to get the color science right. Then I'm going to go back to my primaries and give it proper detail that it needs. If it crushed my blacks, I'm going to bring that detail back. I'm going to bring my highlights back, things like that. And then I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to control my skin and then build a look. Start working on the look, and then we're going to go under look adjustment and try to fiddle with it and create something even cooler. Then we're going to go into our vignette and accentuate our subject. Then we're going to bring everything else down around him. We're going to add some sharpening, which I already have. We're going to add some grain, which I already have. And then global adjustment, we're going to make final tweaks in here by using our lightbox at the end. And those changes are just going to be global changes like overall saturation or overall exposure, things like that, to just get shots in the ballpark. And then we're going to have a creative LUT. And that's usually, I just keep it there. I don't always use it, but it's just there if I just want to get experimental, or if I have a director or somebody with me and they just want to see something completely different, we can try it out, and we do this right here. So let's go to our LUT. I'm going to go under LUTs. I'm going to go to RE. I'm going to drop in my Rec 709. And as you can see, it looks pretty dark right now. And that is a no-go. And I'm going to bring up my scopes. So let's just click right here and look at our scopes. So yeah, it is pretty crushed. And for this movie, it's called Blind Date. Think of it like Desperate Housewives, and they were looking for a poppy, fun look, not as dramatic as it is right now. So we're gonna have to fix that. So I'm gonna go into my primaries, and I'm gonna start with lifting my gamma. I'm gonna bring up my gamma. I'm gonna bring down my gain a little bit. I'm gonna bring up my gamma more, and I'm gonna start bringing up my lift, and I'm gonna bring down my lift a little bit, bring up my gamma more, keep my lift around here somewhere. That's okay. And I'm gonna bring up my gain, play around with it, you know, like just don't be afraid, like just make it go wherever you want it to go and then control it. So somewhere around here is where I want to keep it. And we were able to bring back quite a bit, and now I'm looking at this right here, and that's pretty much gone, because if I go completely before, we see some detail there, and now it's kind of blown out. And if it's blown out, it's okay, because it's a specular highlight and you don't want to control it too much because you're going to make it muddy. So right now we still have enough detail in there where it can stay that way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to extract a little bit more out of it if I can. So I do that by going to my noise reduction, my first node, and then I'm going to create a parallel node. And then with my parallel node, this is what I do. So I'm going to go into my qualifier. So basically now this is happening before the LUT was applied and this information was, pretty much gone. So we're trying to bring it back. So we're going to bring it back before the LUT node. So now I'm going to go under my luminance, and I'm going to turn my highlights on and just go grab the problematic area. So like something like that. I'm going to grab it right here. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into my highlights, and I'm going to start pulling that information back. And I'm going to say I'm just going to see what comes back, okay? So look at my scopes. Before, after, we were able to retrieve most of that information back, okay? Like you can see it right there. Now this is what I want to do. I want to balance this out, because you can just see there's like so much green and the blue channel is so like buried down there. So let's just bring it up a little bit and give it some detail. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm just going to use my primaries to dial it in. Right now there's a lot of green in there, so I want to pull that out. So the way I'm going to pull it out is I'm going to use my gamma and try to get the skin where I feel like it looks good. And then I'm going to take my gain and I'm going to move it to the red, because I don't like how much weird yellow there is in the image. And then I'm going to take my gamma and counter that. So let me turn it on and off, and we're starting to get our colors back. So the colors are coming in, and now I'm going to take my lift and I'm going to balance out my blacks, okay? And then I'm gonna use my gamma to kind of fight that and just get the colors right. I'm gonna raise my gamma a little bit more for his skin. I'm gonna bring my shadows down, bring them up a little bit, bring them down like that. I mean, if it's, so look at this, okay? If you look at the scopes right here, for a comedy and for something lighthearted, it's totally okay to keep it a little bit over 0 and kind of just keep a gentle contrast instead of like crushing everything. If you're talking about action movies or like drama, then you can really push it. But for rom-com, like a picture like that, this is totally fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and just move my gamma a little bit more towards yellow. And then I'm gonna counter that with my lift. So for my primaries, I think this is looking pretty good. And then I can come in here. Now before I do that, I do want to apply just a little bit of noise reduction to get a cleaner key. So I'm just gonna do like, bring this up to 7.4-ish and then just take out the chroma noise. And that is really good. That's already doing its job. If I punch in and show you his skin before and after, so we can just take it out and then just look what it's doing. It's a lot of chroma noise that we're pulling out, so it's looking pretty good. Now I can go back here and just add a little bit more saturation and just see what happens. I just want to see what happens, and then I can park it somewhere around here. That's okay for now. And then let's go ahead and qualify it. Forehead is usually the best area to grab the skin from. And now what I want to do is just take my lows and bring it up so I can get rid of all that extra noise that we're getting and just really grab. I'm going to expand it a little bit and then nudge it around until we, like right now we're just focusing on him. Something like that. And now what we can do is just add tons of blur. Always add blur to your keys. It's gonna make it a lot less jarring. And now we can just start giving it a little bit of juice and see what happens. So something like that, not too much, just give them some life. So just hold it right there. And now what I want to do is I can go in here and I just want to experiment with my offset and just kind of move it around to see what I get. What I'm not liking, one thing that I'm just not a big fan of is this, a lot of this yellow that's happening. I'm just not in love with it. So I kind of want to give it this red. I want to take it more on this red side, to be honest, like somewhere around here. So now if I like this, then all I have to do is just grab my lift and balance out the image. And just look at it. So this is what we had and this is where we are now. So it's a big improvement. It's just so cleaned up, and just even like her skin is looking so much better. And then overall image is just looking more balanced. And now one thing that I want to do, I'm going to come in here, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a layer node. So this is just what I meant when I was talking about, like, regardless of how well something is shot, it just really depends. I mean, we have a lot of analogous tones going on in this shot, and that's just inherently going to make it really difficult to do certain things. So one thing that I'm going to try now is I'm going to go into my 6 vector selections, and I'm going to go and pick yellow. I'm going to just pick out all the yellow in here. I'm going to turn off my highlights, and I'm just going to shift the hue a little towards red. Just like that. So we took it from this ugly, sickly yellow and we brought it over, and now I just want to go easy on the saturation. And it's starting to look better, okay? It's starting to look better. Even this right here is looking better than before. So I think it's not bad. It's pretty good. Let's play it through and see if it's clean. So it's pretty clean. And it just cleaned up the image quite a bit. And now I want to go into my background. And that's pretty much everything that the skin and this is not. So it's going to grab that. And let's try to create something. And again, I'm going to do this time, okay? I'm going to go into So this is pretty cool what I'm doing right here. It's just taking out a lot of the blue, heavy blue that we have in there. It's taking that out and it's making the entire image, if you look at right here, how it's balancing it out. And that's pretty cool. Because if I just take these 3 nodes right here, or actually these 4 nodes right here, and if I turn them on and off, you'll see how much we're manipulating our image. So just look at this. Look at that. So it's like we're coming a long way. But just remember, this is controlled environment. So here we can do all of this and then apply it on all our clips and then make micro adjustments. Okay, this is not going to be as crazy as some of the stuff we're going to work on in the later lessons. So now I'm going to come into my vignette, and so what we can do for the vignette is keep it pretty basic, like a regular vignette. So let's just go into our windows, create a window, and let me just do a generic something like that, rotate it a little so it's just a bit more organic, bring it in somewhere around here, and then give it tons of softness, something like that. And then I want to go in and I want to reverse it, okay? And now what we can do is we can just pull everything down quite a bit. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to lock that out. Let's lock this in and then just pull everything around our dude down a little. Not too much, just a little, because I don't want to make the whole image being too dark. So I'm going to bring this up. I just want to put a bit more emphasis on him. And then I want to go to my next node and just do a gentle curve. So I'm actually going to do this. Watch this. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to turn on my editable splines. I'm going to grab this and just look what I do. This adds a very, very gentle S. Like, look what it's doing. So super, super gentle. And I'm just going to take this and try to bring it down. But if I don't have to, I won't. So I don't think I have to. So I'm just going to go back on that. I'm just going to take this. And just look. It just pops him out. It just adds the right amount of pop on him. And if I grab these 2 layers and if I do before and after, look how much we're adding. Like, look what's happening. big difference, very natural. So now if I grab these along with these, and if I just do all the stuff that we did after our primaries, it's pretty nice, and it's putting us in that rom-com world. And we were able to do all that with not that much. So it's looking really clean. And we already have our sharpness in place. We already have our grain in place. And then the global adjustment is going to come in handy later down the road. So now that we have this set up, I think it's looking pretty good. I'm ready to start dropping that on to a bunch of clips. So one thing that we know, what we can try actually and see how it works is I'm gonna go ahead and group clips all the shots on him. So we know that we have a single on him, we have a single on her, we have a 2-shot, and then within those we have variations. So we got a medium on him, we got a tight on him. So we got a medium on her, we got a tight on her. So let's go ahead and create groups for each one, and then we'll see how that's gonna come in handy. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and select all my medium shots of him. So I'm selecting just the medium shots, and I'm gonna go ahead and right click and say add into new group, and I'm gonna do, his name is Pavel medium. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna select, is that a medium shot too? So that's a little bit different than this shot, so I'm gonna just consider that a close-up. So now let's go ahead and grab all the close-ups with him, which there aren't many. And then there's this one. We're gonna do Pavel close-up, see you. And now what I want to do is go ahead and just grab all the 2 shots. So something funny is happening here. I knew it. So anytime you see 2 shots like that back to back, especially in a scene cut environment, just know that there's a mistake. Somehow Resolve didn't add an appropriate cut, so we have to do it ourselves. So I'm just gonna go ahead and manually add the cut in. So I'm just gonna go ahead and blade it. There you go. And now we go in, and this is part of the medium shot or close up. Let me see. So this is part of the medium shot. So we're just gonna go ahead and say, put it in medium, assign to group, and now it's assigned. So let's just continue with our 2 shots, 2 shot, and 2 shot. Eventually, if I find any more mistakes like we just did, we're just gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go manually blade it and then add it to its appropriate group. So I'm gonna go ahead and call this 2 shot. And then let's go here. That's a medium on her, I believe. And then that's another medium. That's a close-up. That's a close-up. So that's a medium. I mean, that's pretty close, but I would consider that a close-up. So let's do... Okay, let's... Alright, so let's put the crazy close-ups and close-up that there are. So this can also be a medium shot, I believe. Let's just do 1, 2, 3 as super close-ups. So we're just gonna do a new group, and we're gonna do Ali close-up. Okay, now we're gonna grab all the medium shots with her. Just know that even in these medium shots, it's not like one grade and we're just gonna apply it and it's gonna work. We're still gonna have to go in and fudge with it just a little bit, but it's going to help us out quite a bit. Now let's just go ahead and grab all the inserts. So we got this insert, we got that insert, and this one. So we got 3 inserts, and I'm just going to do inserts. So now we got all of that taken care of. All our groups are in. Couple of things that you need to know about groups, and we can look at them this way. So check this out. We can basically filter through, like how all our clips are in here right now. We can filter them through based on groups. So we can just really go, give me all the mediums on him. And then it's really easy because I've already created this look. And again, we want to make it really poppy and crazy, and we can always make tiny adjustments at the end. We're just going to leave it as is for now. And now I can grab all these clips and then just middle click on this one, and it's going to apply my grade through and through. And for the most part, I'm just like going through it, and I got to be honest, it's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to say show me all clips. So now just take me back, show me all clips, and then you can see where it's applying the grades. So like all the medium shots, the grades have been applied. You can start to see the power of like working this way and shot matching, and once you do a little bit of work, like how much time you can save instead of just like manually clicking through these. And again, I cut this short film in quarter the length of what it was. So if you had, I think total I had like 120 shots or 100 shots or something like that. So now we're down to 30, and how many medium shots we had. Now imagine out of 130 shots, how many times you have to do middle click, and this way you don't have to worry about any of that, and it's just sort of like an automated process. It just does it for you. So let me take this and apply it, how close we get. So if I try to, now I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on this and go version, and I'm gonna select selected clips, and now I can see my other shot to this one, and I can easily see that it's overexposed, and we can even see it right here that the shot on the right, like everything is lifted on the shot on the left hand side. So this is where we will make our changes on the global adjustment. So if I go in my global adjustment and grab my gain and I just bring it down, let's see, hopefully that will fix it. And I feel like it does. I mean, if you look at like how much extra pop there is, and even in the scopes, just look at it, like look at the blues right here, blue level, and like this is how it was before and now, and same thing with greens. Like look at how lifted it is compared to here. And then the reds, look at the top of the red, it was lifted and now we brought it back. So that right there did the trick for our tight shots. And let me just jump between the two, and what I can do is I can go in and select under grouped. I can do all his close-ups and then try to drop this in and see if it works. Okay, so we'll leave it at that for now, and let's just keep moving along, and then at the end we can obviously always revisit that. So we're pretty much done with him, and now we can just move on to her medium. And I'm gonna park on my hero pose here somewhere, and then let's start our grade off of this and see where we are. And it's actually looking really, really nice. It's really nice. I mean, it's even adding like a proper glow, which looks really clean. I'm actually liking that a lot. I want to see how much of my highlights node is working right now. It's working really nicely. Like look what it's doing, just giving her so much juice back. It's so nice. It makes her skin so much more even. And now I want to go in here and see what's happening. So that skin node is also adding just the right amount of warmth. It's looking really nice. And because, let me see what this is doing. So that's taking some of that saturation out, which I like. And then I want to come in here and see, so that's taking all that blue out and making it a very properly balanced image. And we can see that right here at the bottom, how it's just properly balanced. And let me see what this is doing, and that's just adding that red undertone that we have going on with the entire thing. So I think we want to keep that. I'm liking that red undertone, and it just gives a nice color to her hair, her skin, and even her dress. And it pops out the green in the bench. I really like it. And then let's see what these guys are doing. So I'm going to select these two and turn it on and off. It just puts the emphasis where it's supposed to be. It's working really nicely. And obviously our winner is our primaries. I mean, this is, I keep telling you guys, this is where the power is at. The pristine image is created right here. I mean, just look at this image, okay? How dark it is and where it's sitting. Just look at that, where this image is sitting and where we brought it to without losing anything. I mean, this is clean. You can zoom in on it all day long, and it's the cleanest image that you can get. And we were able to do that by using your primaries properly. Okay, so I feel like going from here to here, it's really nice. Now, we can go back in there later on, or we can even do it right now. I can grab these two and I can turn this on and play it back on a loop and just see what's happening. I'm going to turn the audio off right now so I can just focus on that. So one thing that I'm noticing is that obviously the contrast is not right, although I mean it kind of looks like it's just a little bit lifted, right? So if we can just see the greens here compared to here, so it's just overall a little bit lifted. So I'm going to go under my global adjustment and I'm just going to grab my log wheels and I'm going to bring this down. So now I'm getting that similar contrast, and it's the little things. There's going to be these little subtleties, and that's what's going to make all the difference in the world, okay? So all we had to do is, I didn't want to change everything. So if I would have gone with my lift, it would have changed everything on her face, and it just would have brought down too much. And I want this soft sort of contrast on her, but then I wanted to match the contrast of the actual image to this, and I did that by using my log wheels, which is a lot more targeted, and then I used my shadows and I just pulled it down a little bit. So this is why I told you guys that split screen is my favorite thing. It just makes it so much easier to dial that stuff in. And guys, honestly, I'm loving this. This is really nice. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and apply this to all of these shots. I'm actually gonna go in here and I'm gonna go to medium, and I'm just gonna take all of these and I'm gonna drop that on. And the thing is that, let's go through this because I feel like it kind of gets darker. So see, even the difference between these two, isn't that funny? Like, I mean, just look at these. How bright she is to like how dark she is in these shots. So again, I would say let's stay in here, and this time I'm just going to use my gain and try to bring it up because I'm looking at it right here and the difference. So a couple of things, right? So I can use my gain, but let's just try something different this time. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to grab this guy, and I'm just going to raise it until I come close to where I'm supposed to be. So now I'm seeing my green, my blues, my reds, and if I turn it on and off, the contrast might be getting a bit out of control. So I'm going to go in here and turn this off. So now I'm looking at the contrast between these two shots and it's looking on point. The colors are looking good. I'm looking at right here and here, like all these colors. Now everything is matching. I feel like there might be a little bit more color in here than here, but let me just play it through and look at it. There's definitely more color here than here. So what I can do is just go into my global saturation and just pull it a little bit. And then park it somewhere around here. So this is before, and then this is after, and just notice the difference. Just look what we're doing. We're leaving the DNA as is, and then we're going into our global adjustment and we're making these micro adjustments. That's why setting up your node tree like this is so important. So this is looking good, and I feel like now what's going to happen is that we can really take this and apply it to, I'm going to turn this off really fast and apply this. Okay, so this doesn't work. This is actually good, but let me just see how that works out with this shot. So another thing that we have to keep in mind is where is this, because that is also important. So we're gonna kind of have to move these shot by shot basis just to make sure that we get the meat where it's supposed to be. So let's just turn this off for a second and go to all clips and see what's happening. So I want to go to this shot because I like the colors here, and I feel like the colors are just kind of muted here. So let me just give it a little bit more saturation, because I really want to match the colors of this. Like there's a lot of burst, like there's a ton of color in here. Okay, so I want to kind of match that, and I feel like now we're matching it. So then when we go to this shot, now let me go from this to that, and one thing that I want to do is give it that color and then go from this to that and see what's happening. So I feel like let's go back to global, and I just want to reset my saturation because I want saturation. And now something like that. So I mean, as I'm looking at these two shots back to back, I'm just realizing that it needs, I'm gonna turn that off and I'm gonna just play it naturally. You know, that just works a lot better. It matches so much better. So let me do the same here. So basically I'm raising my gamma quite a bit, and then I'm balancing it out with lift. So because I want the environment to feel really bright, and then I'm just gonna balance it out with lift, and I'm gonna bring the lift down, and this gives her a really nice contrast as well. And then let's just go start from this shot. And I feel like that just feels a bit better. And then what I can do is I can bring my gain down a little bit and keep raising my mids and then balance it out with my lift. And let's play it through. So let's park it here somewhere for now and then keep moving on. And let's go from here to here. And again, we're just noticing that I'm gonna undo that. And what we're noticing is that there's a bit too much crunch going on in these shots, and we just have to raise our gamma and bring our gain down to make up for it. Okay, so it's gonna be that sort of action. I'm gonna lift my gamma up to bring more into the environment, and then I'm gonna bring my gain down a little bit, and then we're gonna balance it out with our lift to keep the contrast where it's supposed to be. So let's just go back, going into from this shot to that shot, and then here we can just kind of go easy. We don't have to go that aggressive on here, so I'm just gonna bring that down even lower, so just a little pop instead of like the pop that we were getting. So let me just grab these two shots and now turn on split screen, and then let's just do a loop. So let's play it through and see how it looks. Going from here to here, looking much better. I like these, I like this. And now I'm gonna apply the same grade. So you're seeing what I'm talking about, right? Like none of these grades are applying, and you would wonder what the hell is going on. This is all in the same environment. How is this happening? Like, why am I going from this, look how different this looks, to when I go right here? Like, what is really happening? And that's what I'm talking about. Like, nothing is ever copy paste operation, even if it's shot in controlled environment like this. This does not look good. I have to fix that. So I'm gonna open these up next to each other and see what the hell is going on. Something is just not right. So probably it just needs to be fixed right here. So I'm just gonna reset this and then like rebuild the grade on top of that. And I think I'm looking at it here and they're pretty even. The only difference is that it's pretty shadowy. Like just look at under our eyes. So I'm gonna use shadow to bring that up. So basically that tool is pretty much used for like HDR sort of situation. And now I'm just gonna go to my log and bring it down to match our black levels with what we got going on, and I can see that it's doing quite a bit. And now I'm just gonna go into saturation and just pull it down a little bit, just a hair. And now if I look at it before and after, it's doing quite a bit. It might have just fixed that situation. So it's knowing the right tools that you need for specific tasks. Just look at the difference. So I'm going to turn that off and then show you before and after. So just look at how dark and weird it looks, and like how much detail we were able to pull out of her face, and especially in the shadow areas. So it's looking pretty good. So now what we can do is I'm just going to play it through from his shot from right here to like going into here. That's looking pretty good. I mean, it still feels a little hot like right here. So what I want to do is I want to go right here and see how we're controlling that. So I mean, we're doing quite a bit there. What I can do here is I can just take my highlights and bring them down just a little bit. And now play it through. So let's go back. And there's a weird little yellowish action going on here, and I just want to make sure that that is sort of contained. So I'm going to go in here and just pull that towards right there. All right, and then let's move on to this shot. Just again, let's match these two and see where we sit in terms of our overall contrast and everything. And I feel like I can bring this down just a touch. Something like that. So let's get rid of this and look at that. Another thing that I'm noticing is that we definitely have to add more noise reduction. So I would go to 11-ish here, and that's doing the trick for now. And let's play it through. I feel like if we just go from this frame to this frame, there's still way more light on her. I mean, just look at it here, how much light is on her than him. So we just have to bring that down. And then let's just go back one frame. And then we can just go, one technique that I do to like give it that juice back is just grab your logs and then raise it up. And then that's gonna give it that punch. But then this way we are matching. Right there, we're matching their skins. And it's looking pretty good there. And one more thing, once you use the shadow and bring everything up, like how we use the shadows to bring up the detail, it does add a lot of saturation in the shadows. So to kind of tame that and control that, I would use Luma versus Sat and click this guy right here and then take my shadows and just kind of bring them down a little bit. And that's doing a little bit. So that's not bad at all. And now if I just go from here, play it through, you can see that. So that's looking pretty good. Can't really complain. Alright, moving on to this tight, and let's see if anything transfers over here. I'm just gonna apply this grade right here, and let's try a couple of different ones and see how different they are. I mean, just look at it, like it's kind of unreal to how different each grade is. Like, what the hell? Like, it's just insane. It's crazy. So I'm gonna try to stick with this one, but obviously we have to make some changes here. So expand that, and then the skin is just falling a little bit too on the red side, so I'm gonna pull that out. And again, let me just bring everything down quite a bit like that, and then take my highlights and bring it up. And now let me just match it to this. So what I want to do is I want to go to her face and just give it a little bit more color. So you're just getting a feel for how difficult it is to grade a controlled environment shoot that's shot with the same camera, and how many different challenges that we're facing just in terms of the contrast change, and once you adjust that, how it affects the color in the overall picture. And there's so many things that are going on right now. So right now we dialed in our singles, tights, and medium shots on them, and now we're going to move on and work on our two shot, and then we're going to do our inserts, and then at the end we're going to bring it all together. So let's start off with our baseline. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to try, so this is looking better, and I'm just going to select these two shots and then check it out and see what we have to do. So I feel like overall it's not bad, but again, I'm just going to raise my midtones quite a bit, and then I'm just going to adjust my blacks by using lift. And just right here, I think we were able to pull up quite a bit. But now I don't like how it's adding yellow. And I'm just going to go ahead and take my that node that we were using to switch it over. So I'm going to keep it somewhere around here. Bring my log wheels and just bring some of the detail back somewhere around here, and that's not bad. So now these are all my two shots, and I can already see that the contrast has gotten quite crazy in these, and we might have to make some adjustments, but again, we're just going to do that at the end. Now I'm going to go to my inserts, and I'm going to apply a couple of things that we have here, and then see if there's one that can give us a half decent start. So this one is not bad. It's also not great. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into my log, and I'm gonna raise that so I can give my white a proper white. And you know what, let's reset this, and let's rebuild it. So I'm gonna go into my highlights first and try to bring that back, bring some of that information back, and then I want to see I want to go here and raise that up. And then I want to pull that down because I want to create some contrast. something like that. And then I'm gonna play it through. Something like that. Now we're living in that red bias thing that we got going on, and let me just apply this here. Look at the skin tones, and they're just not looking right. So let's go ahead and grab those skin tones. And let's just play it through from here and see how it works. So that's the last shot. Okay, so we got something going on. We just did a pass through the entire thing. Now what I want to do is I am parked on my global node for most of these shots. Just want to make sure that I am parked on this, and then when I'm going to be making my overall adjustments, they're going to be made on this particular node. Okay, now let's go to our light box right there, and then this color control is pretty rad. And then I can put this right here, and now I can scroll through and see how everything is looking. So let's just go through and kind of see if we're in the right ballpark, and I can see that overall it's pretty good. This shot particularly kind of sticks out quite a bit. It's almost like just the lighting changed here, or what happened, because you look at this to this, maybe the way she's sitting, because she's like lit from the top, like here, it just really makes it challenging for that shot to work. But then once she leans back, everything looks fine here. So see, this one can come up a little bit because you look at these shots to this. So this one can come up just a little bit. So I'm just going to take my gain and raise it a little bit, something like that. Alright, so I'm going to watch it through at twice the speed, and then let's just see how it looks. So going from this shot to this shot, I feel like we gotta lift it a little bit. So I'm gonna raise my gamma quite a bit, And I'm gonna bring my lift down. Let me just pull this over so you guys can see what's happening, and give it a little bit more saturation, and let's go in here and swap the hue a little bit to give it a little bit more red. Actually pull the saturation down a little bit, but definitely give it more hue. And pull the saturation back a little bit. Let me see. Again, this one can use some lift too, so I'm going to give it some gain. I'm going to give it some gamma. I'm going to pull some lift down. Okay, so that's it. We were able to use multiple techniques here. So we used our group clips here. That saved us a ton of time. Then we went in, we used our split screen and selected clips and played them in real time to really dial in everything. Then at the end, we were able to use Lightbox to make macro adjustments. And finally, we watched the whole thing through and made some last minute changes to bring it all home. This was Blind Date. I hope you guys got to see that copy pasting is a concept that does not exist in the world of color grading. Even if you have controlled environment and something shot with Alexa Mini at 444XQ, there's still a lot that goes into it. Let's move on to our second lesson in same camera.